Hi, Phil Schoenberg, Fastpitch Power. We've had several of our followers recently ask about, as the season approaches, what is the most effective way to evaluate your opposition as it relates to calling pitches? This is a very important component of the success of any windmill pitcher. And we want to make certain that we understand the process of knowing how to attack your opposition, how to attack their weaknesses, exploit their weaknesses, in some cases attack their strengths, and stay away from the pitches that you know are going to be most likely to be driven for extra base hits or scoring runs, and so on and so forth. So where do we start? It starts in the bullpen session between the pitcher and the catcher. When you send your starting pitcher out to warm up prior to a game, she's going to be going out there with her catcher. And I want to say this, I can't be more adamant about this. A great catcher will make any pitcher, I don't care how good that pitcher is, 10 to 15% better. So the catcher and the pitcher need to start out on the same page, and that starts in the bullpen session. The bullpen session is their warm-up. Now, you may say, well, I'm a drop ball, curveball pitcher. You know, I can spot my fastball, I can throw a changeup pretty consistently. When you go out to the bullpen, you're going to go through your warm-up routine, and then you're going to pitch a simulated inning. This is how we train our pitchers. A simulated inning to your own team. Why? Because you know your own team. So you're going to pitch as though you're pitching to your leadoff hitter, your number 2 hitter, your number 3 hitter, your number 4 hitter. Okay? And at that point in time, your catcher is going to be able to evaluate what pitches are working for this particular pitcher today and what pitches may not be working for that particular pitcher. And it's important to know that because you want your pitcher, when she steps into that 8-foot circle, to have maximum confidence in whatever it is that the catcher's call. Now, that brings me to another really critical point. The pitcher's universe exists within the frame of her body. So we talk all the time about power line, pitching lane, throw zone. They are all components of the same exact thing. Your power line goes from the middle of the pitching rubber all the way down the pitching lane to the middle of home plate. The pitching lane is from either side of the pitching rubber, 2 straight lines, all the way down to either side of home plate. If you throw a pitch within those 2 lines down the pitching lane, between the batter's knees and just above the batter's waist, between the batter's waist and the letters on her shirt, umpire's going to say strike. So we know that what your hand does, or we should know what the pitcher's hand does getting to the end of the throw zone, and the throw zone is simply a smaller version of the pitching lane and power line. Outstretched glove straight down is the end of my throw zone. My pitcher's hand gets to the end of the throw zone without the throw zone breaking down. That ball is going to go down the pitching lane to the catcher's glove and hit the spot that that catcher has called for. Now, when the pitcher is in the 8-foot circle, her brain is here. Right here. Catcher. Catcher thinks, pitcher executes. Pitcher executes within her own universe. And if she does that, she's not focused on what the catcher is doing necessarily. Catcher is going to give her spots, is going to call a particular pitch in a particular situation and call for a particular location. And the pitcher needs to set up her body once she comes off that pitching rubber to deliver that ball as her brain, the thinking part of that pitcher, which is in the catcher's head, has called for. So how do you know when a batter steps into the batter's box how you want to attack that particular batter? Well, in most cases, fortunately for a lot of pitchers, Whether you're playing on a tournament circuit, a travel circuit, unless you're playing at the the very highest level, where you're playing PGF Gold Ball and you're traveling all over the country facing teams you've never seen before. Most varsity pitchers, most travel ball pitchers who are playing within a certain region, you know the teams you're playing. You've been playing them since you were playing 10U ball, 12U ball, 14U ball. You're facing the same girls pretty much, especially in high school, that you have faced year in and year out. So you're going to know those batters' tendencies. But you're going to come up against competition, against opponents who you've never seen before. So how do I tell as a catcher? We're not talking about the pitcher now. Pitcher executes, catcher thinks. So the catcher has to be aware of what that particular opponent is doing and how that opponent is looking to attack your pitcher so that that catcher can call the appropriate pitch and then your pitcher can execute that pitch. So I'm going to step into the batter's box now and I'm going to tell you what I mean, or I'm going to show you what I mean as it relates to an opposition, an opponent who you may not have ever seen before. Okay, so here I am in the batter's box. Now, I'm a leadoff hitter. I'm 5'5". I'm not the tallest. I don't have the longest arms and legs. And I step into the batter's box and I'm standing here, close to home plate. Okay? So, I can stand as far back as here as a hitter. And I can stand as close as here as a hitter. Some batters like to do this because, in most cases, when you see a batter set up in this fashion, close to home plate, what they're telling you is, I have difficulty covering the outside corner. So I want to take the outside corner of the plate away from the pitcher and the catcher so that they cannot attack my weakness. So I'm going to stand close to the plate. Now what that does is it makes me very vulnerable on the inside corner. But I'm a leadoff hitter, and I'm really quick with my bat, and I've got short arms, and I can get to that ball on the inside corner. I've practiced that, I've worked on that, and I'm able to cover that inside corner pretty well. If you execute your pitch correctly, if your catcher sets up here and gives you a target on the black, in this case, it's on the inner corner of the plate, and you can consistently hit that with either a well-located fastball or a screwball moving into the batter, you are still, even though the batter thinks that that's their strength, you're still attacking that strength. If you can execute your pitch with a batter in here, I don't care how much that hitter thinks that she's able to cover the inside corner, you're going to be successful more times than not. But you have to execute. If that ball leaks 2 to 3 inches toward the middle of the plate because you didn't execute the pitch as well as you possibly can, you did not attack that inside corner with whatever pitch you're throwing, then that batter is going to punish that particular pitch. Now conversely, you get to the number 3 hitter, number 4 hitter, 5'9", long arms and legs, you're going to see them more often than not off the plate. Why? Because they know that because they want to extend to generate power, they want to take away the inside corner from you. So now in this position, that inside corner of the plate is almost like throwing the ball right down the middle of the plate. Okay? So if I'm standing here as a hitter, I'm telling you, I am afraid of that inside pitch. And unfortunately, you can't throw that inside pitch now because if you throw it to a spot where, and the batter knows this, you throw it to a spot where it's going to tie me up, it's going to be a ball because I'm that far back in the batter's box, back away from home plate. And that gives me the opportunity to get to that inside pitch and still be able to extend and generate power. Now, I do become vulnerable. I don't care how good a hitter you are. I do now become vulnerable on the outside corner. Even though I think, and I want you to think, that that's where I want the ball, I still have to have balance, and I have to be able to reach that outside corner with power. And it gets much more difficult the further away I move from home plate. So as a catcher, I'm going to look where that hitter is setting up, because that hitter's telling me a story. Where do I want this pitch? Where do I not want this pitch? And then the catcher will call the appropriate pitch. On that one, the catcher makes, if you've got a curveball pitcher, a ball that starts right down the middle of the plate, and 25 feet out of your hand, that batter's going to be licking her chops, and then right within 5 feet of the plate, that ball takes a 6-inch detour toward the outside corner. And that, excuse me, that kind of pitch with late movement is going to, more often than not, defeat that particular hitter. You're attacking the hitter's strength in that particular situation, but you're doing it with outstanding execution. And that's what it's all about. Understanding how the biomechanics, optimal biomechanics in developing as a windmill pitcher enable you 70, 80, 90% of the time to execute the pitch that your catcher calls. So I'm looking at batters I've never seen before, and they're telling me what their tendencies are. They're telling me what they want and what they don't want. My catcher's job is to see that, to understand that, and to call pitches accordingly. Pitcher's job is to execute those pitches. Now, the one particular kind of pitcher, or the one particular kind of hitter rather, that is kind of, difficult, unless you happen to know this hitter, is kind of difficult to gauge, is a slapper, okay? Because a slapper is going to step toward the pitch, no matter what pitch you're throwing, and is only going to be interested in getting their bat on the ball and placing it, guiding it to a point on the infield, presumably, where, and your slappers are going to be really fast, and they're already batting lefty, and they're already on that side of home plate, much closer to first base. So you're going to have to understand the best way to attack that particular hitter. Now, from our perspective, if you've got and we teach, any of our pitchers who are able to throw a curveball and a drop ball, we ultimately teach them to throw a drop curve. Now, a drop curve is a pitch that is going to leave the pitcher's hand. It's going to come down the pitching lane, probably toward the outside corner of the plate. And again, the better you are as a pitcher, the later your ball is going to move. Within 5 feet of the plate, that ball is going to dive down and in. So what does a slapper want to do? A slapper wants to step toward the pitcher, wants to extend their arms, wants to guide the ball between the third baseman and the shortstop, and wants to get down that line before that fielder can handle that ball and get it to the first baseman for an out. So that drop curve, which makes it look like halfway out of the pitcher's hand, and when a pitcher is throwing a pitch, if I'm a hitter and I haven't made up my mind to swing at that pitch when it's halfway to home plate, I'm not swinging. Or if I am, I'm swinging late and I'm missing the ball. So that's the amount of time the hitter has to determine whether or not I'm going to make a pass at this ball. So as I step forward and I think the ball, 25, 30 feet out of my pitcher's hand, is coming right down the middle or toward the outside corner, even better for the hitter, I'm going to be looking to extend my arms and guide that ball between third base and shortstop. However, between 5, 4, 6 feet, that ball starts to move, I can't get my arms extended, and I'm likely going to either foul it off, swing and miss. I'm not going to be able to do as a hitter what I want to do with that ball. So, as a pitcher and a catcher, you're a team. You need to be together. You need to know in each individual game as a catcher and a pitcher, what's working for me today, what's not working for me today. And whatever that may be, maybe all your pitches are working, that's great, but it's not likely. And don't forget off speed. The best pitchers, there are throwers and there are pitchers. We train pitchers because you're not going to get that many students who are going to throw the ball between 65 and 70 miles an hour. You know, you may see them on ESPN all the time, but that's a tiny fraction of the universe of all pitchers, even college pitchers. Probably the average pitching speed for any NCAA pitcher at any level, D3, D1, D2, whatever it is probably somewhere between 58 and 62 miles an hour, not 72, 73 miles an hour. So it's a rare pitcher that's going to be able to generate that amount of velocity, but that does not mean that you cannot be an extremely successful pitcher by changing quadrants, by varying speeds, by using your off-speed pitches, by taking a little bit off of your fastest pitch and keeping the hitters off balance. So when it comes to calling pitches, pitchers, use your brain. And that brain is right here. Make sure your catcher knows what you're comfortable throwing in any situation. Catchers, make sure you're aware of what your pitcher's strengths are in any given game situation. Take a look at what the story the batter is trying to tell you as to where they want that pitch thrown and where they don't want that pitch thrown. You guys will be a very successful team. I hope that this has been useful. Talk to you next time.